Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda YouTube podcast series in partnership and empowered by our platforms openbusinesscouncil.org, citiesabc.com, and fashionabc.org. Once again, our channel is profiling global makers, global disruptors, but as well global people that are creating better narratives for how we can actually create better solutions and better, I would say, better ways of living better in a world that is very shifted by technology and business, or business and technology, and they're creating a lot of confusing ways of looking at how we can actually better live, but as well how we can actually, each of us, have a better capacity to understand how to optimize our performance and as well create new ideas or ventures that actually can help us advancing with other areas. So one of the things that I've been always highlighting is personalities that are looking at how we can actually use all these tools of the fourth industrial revolution to change our present business and present actions, and as well how each of us individuals can actually change that. And that's what we're going to be talking today about the Web 3.0, about NFTs, and how these actually can be used in a very, I would say, simple but effective way. Because I think when we talk about NFTs, people get very confused. There's a lot of things about myths around Web 3.0, about blockchain, about NFTs, and that's what we're going to be trying to do. So I welcome to our series Sallyann Della Casa, the founder of GLEAC. And so Sallyann Della Casa is a fantastic personality, a tech startup founder, a former lawyer, author, TEDx speaker, teacher, and curriculum developer in human transferable skills such as critical thinking and a lot of areas around the emerging technologies such as Web 3.0, Fintech, blockchain, and metaverse, and as well the parts of sustainability. And one of the things that her work has been doing is how to reach global learners with the unconventional ideologies and the conventional areas. As the founder of GLEAC, a platform that co-pilots learning, innovation, and problem solving with industry experts using cutting-edge neuroscience, she's been going in one direction that's particularly interesting for us, and is touching the areas of what we're doing in this series, that is looking at how we can use these cutting-edge technologies and included them in neuroscience and behavioral science, and integrating as well AI and machine learning for different areas of creating solutions for day-to-day business solutions. She has a patent pending going on into the GLEAC platform and the different solutions, and which makes us one of the 4% women globally as a sole founder, which is quite interesting as well to look at that. I didn't know these statistics. And GLEAC powers the UNICEF Yoma platform in Africa, and as well the Jaio phone company platform in India. And it was also the official app for skills of the future at the Expo 2020. As a lawyer, Sallyann has been working in transactions, estate planning, and real estate. So she has an experience both working in legal ecosystems, but as well how to scale it right now as an entrepreneur. And recently, she dropped the world's first NFT that tokenized industry experts, and is building the first metaverse living human library of wisdom with the NFT expert profiles, which I love the vision that is a Think Wikipedia with a neighborhood library and the metaverse interactive. So it's very ambitious, but a fantastic part. And to wrap up, Sallyann founded the Growing Leaders Foundation in partnership with the United Nations Department of UNDP, where thousands of at-risk youths and adults have benefits of financial literacy, and her work in delivering soft transfer skills such as communication and entrepreneurship, especially in areas like the Caribbean, Latin America, and the Middle East region, MENA region. And she's been working with big reputable brands like Nestle, DP World, and Repsol, just to mention a few, always in the areas of transferring skills and developing skills of education, one of my passions. And last but not least, Sallyann was curator of people and culture at C-suite level at Karim to help stabilize workforce and shape organizational culture. There's much more things, and we're going to be talking about that. So welcome to our series, Sallyann.
Thank you for having me. I want to say that was really long. I would have loved if I can just explain after my name, work in progress. Full stop.
All of
Right,
us.
work in progress. And then that pretty much spans, the last couple decades.
No, that's wonderful. You're still very young, so there's a huge future ahead of you. So let me start by to build all of this, you have really fantastic multiple skills, because in one end being a lawyer by education and as well by career, but you shift to being an entrepreneur and as well social impact driven platforms, patent maker, NFT. So there's a lot of things here. So let's look at the trajectory that brought you here. How was this trajectory from an education as well? Because you have quite a multicultural background, which is fantastic. And as well, that shows probably how you create all this creativity to take this forward.
Yeah. So, what looking back, I think if I look at the common thread throughout all of the different ways I've chosen to show up professionally, because really it's that, the evolution of who we are, it might shift and change, but there's always a common thread, right? In all of it. And for me, the common thread has always been human ingenuity and human wisdom, and how do we showcase that? And if you look back at everything I've done, so from my starting to volunteer at 13, in kind of the soft skills place and designing programming, at Kapow for the US government while I was an attorney, and my conversations with all kinds of business leaders as a corporate attorney in a particular area, to where I am right now, of showcasing industry experts and skilling in transferable skills. Dinis, I started this work as, if I look back when I was a 13-year-old, right? It's a body of work that, even though my career might look that there's a lot of shift, there is this common thread in everything I've done about inclusion, about our ability to showcase and signal our human skills and transferable skills, things like critical thinking, judgment and decision making, entrepreneurship, right? The things that we don't see in individuals. And the way you showcase it is in the context of industry experts. So, the trajectory of my life, Dinis, as much as I want to think I've been working on it since I was 13.
Wow. And let's look at this multicultural background, because I know that we are in a very crazy world where most of the people that are more creative are actually all immigrants, or actually that if you look at history, it was always immigrants or people
Yeah.
in multiple different places. If you are just in one place, you cannot at least understand the world around you. But how did that shape you? And I think this is particularly important for young people listening to us, because 2 years ago, 2 weeks ago, I did a guest lecture here in a business school in London, and I was shocked. With most of my students, they were questioning why you need metaverse, and I was saying, "Are you joking me? In your generation, if you're asking these questions, but young people and intelligent people, that is one of the challenges how we look at understanding these technologies, but as well the cultural part, because you are framework. If you are in a specific culture, you are framework by your culture, even if you are a super intelligent person. And you
Absolutely.
create a lot of radical stuff. So I want to
Yeah.
touch that, because you are as well an educator and a social impact driven person.
Yeah. And such a critical point, right? So it's your worldview. And I was very fortunate. My roots are in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. And in Trinidad and Tobago, even my background is different, right? So there is a Latin background, there's an Arab background, there's an Indian background. I celebrated Christmas with the Catholics. I celebrate Eid with the Muslims. I celebrate Diwali with the Hindus. That was just normal for me. And that's normal for most people coming. And if you look at people from the Caribbean that have this mix and this fluidity in terms of culture, and in fluidity in terms of race, in terms of caste, there is just something very, very magical about their worldview. I was also very fortunate, Dinis, that I was educated everywhere in the world. So I was educated at a very young age in Toronto, in the US, in Switzerland, in Lugano. I've lived in Germany, I've lived in Italy, I've lived in, many parts of the world at a very young age, all before I was 21. So I knew, Dinis, at a very young age, you can drop me anywhere in the world and I knew how to survive and I knew how to connect with the people. When you hear me speak Italian, I speak 5 languages. I speak like an Italian. When you hear me speak,
Wow.
Spanish, right? Like, so it's one of those things that I think it's so important for young people. I am so blessed. I mean, who I am today is the worldview that I grew up with and what my parents exposed me to. That, I'm in the Arab world right now. I powered as a female founder for the Arab world, at Expo 2020, 20 million users. It's an opportunity of a lifetime, and people often go, how did you get that opportunity? Or did you get that opportunity to power Yoma in Africa, in the African continent? We're making a difference to so many people. And it's because of that ability to stand in the shoes of anyone from any particular place with the worldview and understand and be empathetic right away of, okay, what problems are they facing? Where are they standing right now? That is an absolute gift to be able to, I think, live and work and solve problems in the world today.
Wow, I love that, and first of all, kudos to that, because it's a very special environment, and I think we need this kind of ecumenic force more than ever, because the narratives we have, especially with all the technology that you and me are working, unfortunately, are being used for the most stupid things, but not to improve. Well, actually, they've been improving a lot, but the perception is very toxic and negative, and that's the part. So let's go right now for your career, because start as a lawyer, always focus as well on this community and social impact. And right now you are building fantastic platforms. So I would like to hear about that career that you build, and as well where you're coming to the present efforts you're doing with GLEAC and different things that you're doing, because you're doing a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that question, Dinis, but first I'm going to answer the latter part of that question, which is, what am I doing now? And I want to make the connect with my worldview and how I was educated and brought up to the product I built. So GLEAC allows you to co-pilot learning, innovation, and problem solving with the world's leading experts on using technology. And what that does is that as you are learning, and any digital learning, what happens is we learn in isolation. And what I allow you to do, as soon as you learn something in 5 minutes of micro practice, I immediately connect you to 5 of the world's experts to see how they would have handled the situation. So I'm opening up your worldview, and then I allow you to meet with them in live sessions. So now I'm opening up your network. So I want, and I did this unconsciously. What I'm really doing with learning is what it is I was exposed to as a child. Most of us don't have networks. Most of us don't know what that worldview of what someone in China would do, or what someone in Israel would do, or what would the CEO do if I come from a tiny poor village in Bangladesh that I've never met a CEO before. So it's interesting, when someone pointed that out to me the other day. They're like, do you know you actually built a product based on your own life experience so that you can give that to other people who don't have those opportunities? So I think that is really interesting when you look at the tech company I've built, is how do I shorten the distance between you and what your mentor, who you might never meet, would look like. And I'm shortening the distance and bringing you closer, because the closer you are to something, the more you believe it's real and it can happen for you.
This is amazing, and I love, and I think all creators probably that's what they do. They follow their instinct and their passion, and they take it to other people. So one part, there's 2 parts on that. One part is the way you connect people, and that's the magic of your capacities and I think all your trajectory. And the second is how you put these people together in one platform. So can you explain how do you do that? Because it's one big challenge right now, is that at the moment we have, let's say, the mainstream social media connection platforms are partly broken. They're still fantastic. They achieve fantastic things. Whatever you love or hate, Mark Zuckerberg, he achieved fantastic things for humanity. And that's why he achieved the success he did. And even Twitter right now and the new iterations, and even YouTube where we are right now. And now we have TikTok, that is a very disruptive platform, and I have still a lot of reservations because of what is happening. But all we're trying to do is a new process and a new platform that is using a lot of innovation, but in a much more creative way. And we always speak about the mainstream platforms, that we forget a lot of others that are probably not as well known, or at least they're in deception, like yours, that are probably more relevant and can make much more disruption in a good way, or at least more creation for society. So let's see your vision for GLEAC, and as well, how do you come to that, and how it works for the people listening to us?
Sure. So first of all, if you look at all the metrics, I'm a very data-driven person. On most online learning platforms, if it's not top-down driven, meaning you're forced to do it, engagement in any kind of learning platform it drops to about 30% or less after 30 days. It's very low. It's very, very low. There's just abundant learning that's free. There's abundant, and it's kind of like going to a buffet, Dinis. We don't want to go to a buffet every single day. First day, it's a novelty. Maybe a second and third time, it's a novelty. After that, we're just like, no, I just want to order, a hamburger. That's all I'm interested in. I don't want, the whole array of everything there. So, observing those metrics, how could I do this in a different way? And clearly my inclination was, we are social and we want to be able to connect with individuals. Now, the other thing that I observed was, even if we have cohort-based learning, Dinis, that's not how we learn. Learning is not, I showed up at a session online for an hour or two, and then I don't see those people ever again. Or, I did it over 4 weeks, and then I don't ever see those individuals and practice again. That's also not how we learn. Learning requires practice, right? For us to build neuroplasticity, that it comes like a knee jerk, it means we have to continuously be practicing things. So I knew I had to make the learning small, like a micro learning, not invasive. And the learning had to be delivered where we are. So we're on WhatsApp, we're on Slack. We are not going to apps and desktops to every day. So I designed learning that was short, learning that goes to where we are. And then the other part that was missing was, wait a minute, every time I learn, just like an Olympic athlete, if I could have people who are experts at these things, as I do it on the spot, to go, listen, here's what I would do, would that not make the difference? And the answer is yes. We get better by getting feedback from those who've done it before, to be able to go, no, this is how I did it in this situation. And opportunity, why do we learn? We all learn for opportunity, Dinis, to improve our lives. It might be opportunity for jobs. Well, LinkedIn or any of our social profiles, I mean, if we have to be honest, most of them don't give us that opportunity, right? Friending someone doesn't mean they're going to give you an opportunity for a job. Friending someone, endorsing someone. So how do I then create a way of these experts to actually be in the same room with you and see how you're applying the learning to be able to open up your network and create opportunity? And that's where, when you get to see how the experts handle the situation, I allow you now to also have live sessions where the experts, you're able to show up. They get to see how you're thinking, right? You get to showcase. I think just like Dinis over there, even though I'm sitting in Bangladesh, I think exactly like Dinis. I'm going to be a great podcast host one day. And you to be able to signal that to the world is so important. So it was a very methodical process. I always say I'm a teacher by blood, right? And if you're a teacher by blood, your goal is to really pass learning on to impact so it can make a difference for someone. And if you look at the whole lifeline of it and you really started connecting the dots, that's what the product does, Dinis, that I designed.
So you have right now start with the product, but you are as well working on the utility NFT on the industry experts. So can you explain how it works? Because I know that, well, of course, we talk a lot in NFTs here, and I'm actually creating NFTs, and I created platforms. But at the moment, there's a big, sorry, I'm making a preamble to the question because I want to, for our audience in particular, there's multiple utilities for NFTs, and most of them is people using it for trading, drawings or paintings or art, but it's about certification of something. So how are you using the NFTs in particular and disclosing a non-fungible token for people that forgot what it is, and for people that know? I think my audience should know, because there's a lot of videos explaining what it is. But
Yeah.
what you're trying to do is an NFT on industry experts, which is a fantastic idea. I was involved in a couple of projects on that in the past, but it's all about scalability. So tell us how you're doing it, how it works, and what you did so far.
Yeah. So first of all, I always start with my definition of NFTs to explain what I'm doing, right? So NFTs are just code, just like C#, and it's code that attaches something to blockchain. And my thought process, it's important that you understand my thought process. So then the next question is, well, what are the things you want to attach to blockchain and why? And blockchain, I always describe it to people as the perfect notebook. You can't scratch anything out and you can't rip any pages out, right? Super simple, my explanation. So what are the things that you want to use NFT technology? So I refer to it now as that code that attaches things to blockchain to be as a permanent record. So for me, think about what it is I'm working on in my Web2 business and why it's very easy using Web3 and NFTs as a distribution of what I'm currently doing. So in my Web2 business, which I just explained to you, I'm allowing individuals to showcase their identity and their skills in a stack with 5 industry experts, right? That's what I'm doing in my Web2 business. In my Web3 business through NFT technology, I'm allowing those experts their time. So same Web2 business, I'm allowing you to have 5 hours of time with the world's leading experts. But what is different than the Web2 is that 5 hours of time, it's being captured to do 3 things. One, any new inventions that happen in those conversations, there's IP that's going to be created and co-owned by both parties. Because many times when you're with the world's leading experts, there are all kinds of things you're going to innovate and invent together, and that gets to my patent later on, Dinis. So number 1. Number 2, what I'm also allowing you to do is tokenize whatever it is you develop with that expert within those 5 hours. So if it's a conversation with strategy and you guys want to put that back out in the marketplace and tokenize it, you can. That's the second thing I'm doing with the expert's time. The third thing that I'm doing as part of the NFT is, which is, very similar in some ways to many NFTs, is I'm allowing you to become part of the community with those NFT experts. So we drop 25 every quarter. We just dropped the first 25. And, to give you an idea of the type of experts I'm talking about, these are people that are not available to the public. So the head of innovation for Siemens globally, the person who's advising the central bank of Vietnam and Cambodia on their crypto, the CTOs of the world's leading digital banks, the president of Cleveland Clinic. This is people at the highest levels that I'm giving you. Think about my Web2 project, inclusion and access. For the first time, I'm making them available to you, and your conversations and whatever you create with them will get tokenized. And again, NFT technology, you can attach it to blockchain, so it's time capsuled. Anything that you design and develop with them, all of these experts are going to have a Web3, a metaverse library of their work, and whatever you guys create together will be a part of that, right? So, this is kind of the shift that is happening from the traditional Web2 business that is looking at Web3 just as a distribution. And in addition to what I'm doing in Web2, here's a way to also access it in a Web3 distribution channel.
This is a very, I would say, for people listening to us, for me, it's super exciting, but I'm sure for people listening to us, it's quite complex. So let's go a bit by steps.
Sure.
Because I think one of the things is people like you and me get very excited, but my conclusion...
Yeah, I can explain it in very basic, absolutely.
Yes. Let's go on that. The reason I'm asking is even people that I've been working for years, for instance, I obliged my team to start using OpenAI. Yeah. And they start using it and suddenly say, okay, now I'm starting to understand the internet. But it's available, it's there. So like what you said is looking at IP, commercializing IP, and creating profiles for personalities and highlighting these in a commercial ecosystem, which is kind of the key, because the creative economy, is going to be the future of the world economy, and the gig economy is already. So we can actually put this together. So, but I want to understand this for people listening to us, because you're a lawyer.
Yep.
Work with big institutions like UN and so forth, and you are putting together this. So in a very simple way, let's say for someone that doesn't understand, which is 99%, let's be honest, I would love to be more, but we have to be realistic. And I learned that in the hard way. I always think people understand more. So how would be the steps? Let's say let's look at 3 case studies. One is a lady that is an artist, okay, and wants to expand her artwork. The second is an SME somewhere in the world. You are in Bangladesh at the moment, which is a wonderful place, and I have a lot of connections there. But let's look someone in Bangladesh, a small entrepreneur. Let's look at ladies. I think I like the idea. A small entrepreneur that is a fashion designer that wants to take forward. And the last one is one that I will probably connect to there. There's a small artist. She's a musician in Kenya that has been chasing me because she wants me to help her push her career. And I want to help her, but it's quite difficult because, of course, you have to. So your project can actually probably support these 3 ladies around the world. So let's look at how we would work on it.
So here's how I want you to think of an NFT. If you look at just a triangle, which is Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? But I'm just going to give you a triangle. The base level of it is art, right? And most of us, when we think NFTs, we think art, right? So all NFTs, you want them to have that base level of some decent looking art in terms of putting it out there. So your person who wants to be, you know, and this is if you go on OpenSea of any of the platforms, if you are a decent artist and you have a following, you can create an NFT. This is a NFT without a utility, right? I'll explain what a utility means for an artist. You can create one of your art and you can put it out there and say, this is a one-of-a-kind piece, and it, because it's one of a kind, remember NFTs is it's unique to attach on blockchain, so forever blockchain will show you are the owner of this one of a kind piece, right? So that's your lady who's an artist who, if she wants to create her NFT, she can do that. Now that same lady, if she wants to create a utility NFT of her art, I'll give you an example what she can do. Here is my art. Not only do you get the art, you know, in terms of the one piece, but anyone who buys my art, I also will be giving a private art class for over the next year. You have up to 5 hours of art class sessions with me. Secondly, I will give you I will create a community, and everybody who buys my art can become part of the community. So that way, if there's any discounts or events or any of those things, you know, I'm an up-and-coming artist, you get to be a part of that, you know, before everybody, all my VIP stuff. So this is where your lady who is the artist now has gone beyond, I'm just doing my art. I've now created, not only do you get the art, but you have a utility. There's a use. Utility is just a use that's underneath it, right? So very simple. That's about 90% or 90% plus of the NFTs that are out there in the world right now, Dinis. So if you go right now on any of the NFT marketplaces, about 90% is artists who have put their NFTs out there. You know, this is one of one or one of 5. And you can buy it and you have this unlimited, you know, you have this one-of-a-kind piece. And then many of them are going, okay, you can buy it and you also have a membership too. And they give some kind of membership to a community or something like that. So that would be for your lady who's an artist. Is that clear enough? You think, viewers?
It's for people listening.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I'm just trying to understand how your platform will solve this, because the challenge is, let me ask you, and sorry, I'm being picky with you because I think it's
please be picky. I want you to be picky. I want your users to get what you know they need.
Exactly, because the reason I'm asking this is even big organizations, and I'm not mentioning names, I've been having people coming to me, can you do for instance, I'm talking one of the biggest personalities in the world, and their team came to me, okay, can you help us, or we pay you to help creating NFTs for us? But the challenge is that they get a bit confused. For instance, if you go to OpenSea, it's not so easy to create an NFT. You still have to upload your art piece. First of all, you need to create your. Let's start by the basics. You need to, first of all, upgrade or create your profile, get a wallet. And in the wallet, you're going to have Ethereum. So you need to understand how to use crypto, whatever you want it or not. That's the first thing. And this is a big problem. There's only 300 million people in the world that actually know how to use crypto, 350 million. And then from this 350 million, probably a bit less right now, most of them have maximum $100 in their wallet, and probably even less. So that means most of the people, just to get this, they'll lose the access to the wallet, they'll get lost and so forth. So that's why I'm being very conscious about this. And I want to specific because you are as well an educator, so you can explain this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you are correct.
One of my question for you is, the UI UX, so like user experience, is still very complicated for most of the creators. Being very realistic, because most of the people don't even know how to use Twitter. Okay. Yep. And trust me, I've been a teacher in business schools, which my students are supposed to be a bit more sophisticated. So and a lot of people still think that blockchain is magic, or at least is a scam. So I think there's a lot of things that I'm trying to demystify this, but let's look at this in the GLEAC platform. So how are you trying to fix and do this? Because GLEAC.com for people listening to us. So let's go to.
Yeah, so lovelyhumans.io is the platform of our Web3. You can get to it off of our GLEAC.com. So the project of our NFTs is called Lovely Humans, Dinis.
Yeah.
And we do it very, very simply. And you are correct, right? We had to onboard our audience of industry experts. So think about who our audience is. You know, it's people who are pre-millennials, right? They're 45 and above, all blue chip from the biggest companies in the world. So they're all CEOs, CFOs, you name it. And we had to onboard them into Web3. And the first reaction was, oh my gosh, that is like a fraudulent thing, Web3. Like everyone just thinks it's something bad.
Exactly.
So Dinis, we spent from the beginning of the year, January till June, with sessions once a month. Everybody learned how to open up their first wallet. Everybody learned how to onboard onto the platform. Like, I mean, and if you actually go to the lovelyhumans.io platform, you will see we have onboarding videos for you where we made sure that, and you can play it, just so you don't need to have crypto to buy an NFT, Dinis. You can also use fiat regular currency. It's just that to get the transfer of the NFT, you need to have clearly a wallet, right? So if you go to OpenSea, someone can pay and buy their NFT in fiat currency. Many of the marketplaces allow you to purchase NFTs with fiat currency. It's the transfer of the asset that you need the actual wallet for. So just keep that in mind, because that was something. Our buyers are corporate buyers. Most corporate buyers, they're not holding cryptocurrency. Most corporate buyers are going to pay in fiat currency, but they have to take transfer of the asset, which we have to handhold them through in setting up their first wallets.
Let's look at how it works. So let's say I'm on lovelyhumans.io, and let's do a small exercise together here. I'll share.
Absolutely. So if you go on Lovely Humans, we focused only on 4 verticals. So you remember I told you that buffet, we don't want too much for too many people. So what are the emerging sectors? Fintech, Web3, sustainability, and data. So it's really, really simple, right? In terms of the platform. So the first thing when you go in terms of the platform is, if you know the industry expert you want to purchase, but let's say you don't know, right? So let's say I want to go and I want to purchase Dr. Patrick Hussein, right? I'm just going to give you an access. So this is one of the original Bell Labs data scientists with about 40 patents. You get an idea of, the particular type of expert. And here's what we do that I think is really special. You can go into his library of his work. So you can walk around this room he has 41 patents. Oh, these are some cool projects Dr. Hussein worked on. You can go on his LinkedIn profile, right? These are, remember, you can bid now on OpenSea if you want to. And we made it very easy for users where if they have the ability, if they already have a wallet on OpenSea, they can just click on here. They go right into OpenSea. They can just add to the cart, and they can pay by regular currency, Dinis. So they can pay with their credit card, or they can pay if they have crypto on here. If they do not have
just before you go there, so, and for instance, in this case, for instance, this was a big amount for OpenSea. So it's kind of, how would it would be? So you would be buying the NFT of him.
You're buying everything of him. It says on here, this is a living utility NFT with the following benefits: 5 hours of time, resale and the customization of the artwork, joint IP of the conversation, which can be tokenized at an NFT with 90% of the sale to you and the expert, access to exclusive community and events with all current and future experts. Your work with this expert will be showcased at the world's first metaverse museum of industry experts. So it tells you everything on here
that you got
that comes. So this is a utility NFT, right? This is a living
NFT. People listening to us is mostly you are having a consultancy certification to work with in this case with this personality, Dr.
Yeah, and also create patents or any kind of IP on anything that is discussed in those conversations that might be new inventions or might be innovations. That's very, very critical, Dinis.
Okay. No, completely. And this is great because in the end of the day, it's like for people listening to us, it's a bit like a Fiverr on steroids. But in this case here, you are actually having a certification of having access to a leading global personality. Of course, it's not a small personality. And as well, for instance, if you are a startup or an SME, for instance, if you just hired, and I'm trying to demystify this because of course this is $25,000 for now, but if Ethereum goes up, will be probably 100,000. But the question here is in the modest sense is, if this is having access to one of the leading experts that can actually leapfrog your company. If you're a startup or an SME that is working on patents and needs advice or something like that. That's why I want to
just one of the world's leading data scientists, right? I mean, so anyone who comes out of MIT, Bell Labs, and AT&T, these are the original with 40 plus patents. So most huge companies around the world are solving huge data issues. These are the kinds of people that you want in the room, you know, and I'll give you an example of some of the others, right? So you know, right now we have a Robert. So Robert, in this one would be if you want to set up your marketplace of your own NFTs. He has the largest marketplace in the United States in the Web3 space of Tonic Labs. They're one of the leading labs, and Robert is the person who is behind that, right? Janan Glasshouse, she's one of the world's leading IP attorneys, right? So her technology, she can see all the IPs filed by all the companies around the world, and she creates heat maps off of them. So if you're in the country of Africa and you want to boost innovation in Africa, she will actually tell you all the patents filed by Microsoft or whoever company and family, and what patents will be up and coming for the country of Africa for all your startups. So this is kind of the level of people. Dr. Makoto, he is currently working with the central banks of Cambodia and Vietnam on accepting crypto as part of their main everyday currency. These are people who are guiding at country levels. At you know, Javanshire, he is a rival bank, one of the #1 digital banks in the world, right? So this is, you know, this is their guy. So it kind of gives you an idea of the kinds of individuals you have and you have access to. And as I said to you, the reason we used OpenSea to begin with, Dinis, is, and we won't, right? Moving forward, we'll build our own marketplace and have our own system, but many people already have accounts on OpenSea.
Yeah, and I believe
right? So it's very simple and it's very easy, and they can pay very easily. Eventually, most companies who are selling NFTs, you know, if that's part of your core business moving forward, you might build your own marketplace on Polygon. You might build it on Solana or one of the others, right? So these are some of the things we will look into in our roadmap, but super simple now to just do it off of OpenSea.
No, amazing, and congratulations first of all. And just I think for people listening to us, this is a very, very premium access to some of the global top personalities, which shows as well your capacity of looking at this. I know that we don't have a lot of time, so I want to go through the second part that is very important for me is, so you've been working in skills uprising, or we can use different things, but working in empowering young learners, young millennials, and young personalities, and as well working with some of the most solid organizations in the world, like I mentioned the UNICEF platform, the World Fair, and so forth. So can you tell us a bit about that experience and how this relates with your platform? Because your platform, of course, not everyone can afford to buy one of these things, but if you are a young leader, how do you relate these things together in terms of the
So Dinis, I have an app that is for free.
Okay. Yeah.
So the reason why that costs so much is because that actually allows me to keep the apps for free. So you can download our app GLEAC from the Google Play or the App Store, and you can answer and learn, and you get to see how 5 experts, we call them, co-pilots in learning. You still get access, Dinis, to all of those experts. You also get access to live talk shows with the experts. So as you know, I think you mentioned in my bio that, I have a foundation that does this work, for the last decade. So, the product offering we have is, at the end of the day, we want everybody included. There's no reason why everyone should not be included. And we just found different points of going, okay, the world's leading experts, if you're going to create patents with them, that has a fee to it. But for everybody else, they get a freemium product, right? This is how we connect the dots and give everybody that opportunity.
Fantastic. And really, that's why we are here, because I found this fascinating when I received the stuff. So in terms of the things that you've been working, so we discussed about the NFTs. So let's look at, you just mentioned 2 global personalities that are working with regulatory frameworks, with governments and patents and so forth. How can we, so in the other day, there's 2 parts of your platform, and you actually showed part of the metaverse integration, which is already a simple pavilion where you can see the different skills of the personality, which is fantastic. And I'm building metaverse technology, so it's really great what you guys are doing. But let's look at the being a lawyer and the framework, because one of the challenges right now is most of the countries have no regulation for NFTs, and now it's the experts talking between each other. Probably our audience will be a bit more confused, but I think it's important to look at that. So to look at assurance first, I was working with the government recently, a big government, and most of the government didn't want to engage in anything related to the NFTs or blockchain because of everything happening. And of course, since FTX, things are going even more crazy. But nevertheless, the technology is here. And it's like the beginning of the internet, the first .com boom. There was a lot of iterations, and initially was like porno and unfortunately a lot of things, but then it became everything we do right now. So how do you see that part, especially being a lawyer by education and actually working very serious legal things?
So governments are not really going to have a choice, right? So I think the first thing that that's happening right now is the entire financial sector is the first being squeezed in the so when you look at banks, big banks, a year or 2 ago, like the HSBCs of the world, who said we're never going to touch that whole space, and now all of a sudden they have no choice to stay alive. I can tell you personally, I mean, our main customer base right now are all the financial sector. And Dinis, why are they coming to us? Can you please create learning in Web3 for our customer base, so that way we can keep them engaged and we are the ones educating. So by the time we figure out what we're going to do in the space, they're still there. They haven't left. Literally, that is, I want to say 50% plus of my conversations that are happening. So the financial sector is what's going to drive the government change. And the financial sector right now, from, as I said, the MasterCards to the traditional Standard Chartered, you name it, they're all trying to figure out what is their strategy in this space, because they have to get into the space, whether they want to or not, kicking and screaming. And, there are 2 sectors that are the highly regulated sectors in the world. I always say, banking and medical, right? Those are kind of like the 2. Banking, they're trying to figure out their way, and banking is what's going to drive at the government level the shift, right? I think banking is going to have to pull them along. Very few countries are like Dubai, where I'm from, where the government steps up on their own and says, okay, this is the future. We're going to create the regulatory framework. Most countries, that's not happening. Dinis, it's going to be a bottoms up approach, led primarily by the lobby of financial services companies who want to continue to make money. A lot of the regulation is going to happen there. Few are going to be like we see here in the UAE, or even few are going to be. I mean, let's look at the FTX case, right? For the Caribbean countries. Remember, I come from the Caribbean, right? So many of these Caribbean countries 10 years ago, their main stake, before we blew out all of the offshore and the anonymous companies and bearer share, you couldn't tell, 10 years ago, before all the Panama Papers and whatever, that's how they made most of their money, right? Was in that space. And then that kind of disappeared for the last decade with a lot of regulation. So you will find some countries still in the Caribbean who lost all of that revenue of all of this offshore banking, that will jump on this crypto bandwagon of anonymity, because it really is bearer shares kind of all over again. But at some point that's going to flush out also, right? I don't think, anyone's going to allow that whole FTX thing to continue, keep happening over and over, hidden in the Caribbean. I think it's not going to happen. Not in the world we live in today, where news travels so quickly, and it's not like a decade or 2 decades ago in those countries.
I completely subscribe, and I would say as well, just as a note, I want to be provocative for our audience, is that we're talking about the FTX. There was $30 billion, but the UK government in 1 month blow up 60 billion pounds, and actually no one is in jail and no one is having any issues. It continues to go. The entire country will pay for that. So I just want to highlight that, not with any criticism, but it's a fact. So I think that scares me more. But thank you so much for your
no problem. But yeah, the legal part is going to be driven by the financial sector. I really think it's going to come from the financial sector, Dinis. They want to make money, and they're going to force the governments into a corner so they can continue to make money in the space.
Yes, and they need the innovation of this, because in the end of the day, this will help them create a lot of different things in that level.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I want to touch is, and I know that we are, I don't know if you have much more time, but we have past 1 hour, so I'll be respectful of your time. So in terms of what you're doing right now, there's a quite considerable amount of working with major global institutions, a considerable amount of innovation that is quite radical what you're doing, and really amazing that you brought all these personalities already to be in an NFT. That's already fantastic, and kudos to that. But as well as how you build the community, and that is, in the end of the day, I would love that Lovely Human would become a global platform like Twitter or Facebook, because that's what we need. I think the challenge we have right now is that all the successful platforms are corporate sharp platforms, and of course they're fantastic things. I'm not saying wrong about it, but how are you building this community, and how can people listen to us being part of that community?
Absolutely. So, we have 500 plus industry experts on our GLEAC community. So what we did with Lovely Humans was just really kind of pull out the really top tier. So you can apply to be part of our community on, GLEAC.com, or even on the Lovely Humans website. Dinis, I do think that, we are creating some level of movement. I mean, imagine if I could have gone, Dinis, on your LinkedIn profile, and I could buy an NFT of Dinis and spend 5 hours with you. Or I did that on your Facebook profile. Just think about what starts happening on these social platforms where we have industry experts just sitting there, and the ability to do that. And I think Lovely Humans is kind of paving the way of how we can do that, because our wisdom and our ingenuity is really the one of the only indefinite assets that we have. So you can apply on the GLEAC.com. You can apply on Lovely Humans. The community is 500 plus strong. We do have a qualification process, so it's not, anyone who applies gets in. You have to answer questions. Our AI looks at the quality of your thought. We really are looking for experts coming into the community. I hope that answers your questions, Dinis.
Yeah, answered effectively, and they're really amazing, all the things you're doing. So as you scale the NFTs and the metaverse, so you are, one of the things you're already doing a gallery, like a library for each of these. But one of your roadmaps is to create an entire library metaverse. So
Yeah.
how do you describe that part and how you are trying to take it forward?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just imagine today how I look at someone's profile. I go and it's flat. I go to Wikipedia, it's flat. I go to LinkedIn, it's flat. And I just showed you, which is a really, really rough prototype of what if I can walk into a room and see your body of work. And here is where our mixed reality kind of comes in. And the reason I say mixed reality is because the metaverse, we say the word, but the technology is not there yet, scalable. It's going to be a while before, full metaverse is scalable. It will be some form of, imagine if I saw Dr. Patrick's 40 patents and I can touch it and it opens up and I can actually look at his patent and the parts of the patent. And imagine if right there I can put a note to him going, here's what I think I could do with this patent. Are you interested in chatting and talking about that? So this is the next phase, and we're going to stitch all these rooms together, Dinis. So it's going to move from it being flat, how we interact with human wisdom and ingenuity, to it being a mixed reality version of it. So really excited about that, Dinis. Really, really excited.
No, congratulations, and I think it's. I'm looking forward to see how you're going to take the next couple of months, and I think there's a couple of things that we're going to be. Probably I'll bring you to a couple of live events with our community as well, because I think a lot of these things is putting our ecosystems together and bringing it to the next level. So, last question, and I try to keep it around this. Is so from the experience you mentioned the work you have with the app that is for free and all the different things, and how you take it forward with the different areas. So at the moment, there's only around 6 million people using NFTs. So it's still a very early days, probably even less than that. Let's be honest, like really people using it properly is less. But there's a growth capacity that is coming out of this. And then there's your work with education and in emerging markets. And one of the things that I've been finding is definitely the struggling of these people, especially young people, to understand the tools, to have access to. Actually, the education is available. If you go just to YouTube or Udemy, you can get a lot of courses for free. It's just people don't know how to use these tools. And they don't know as well how to monetize, because most of the universities are still thinking about 9-to-5 jobs, and they're thinking about this conventional. So we have a bit of a paradox in our economic system. In one end, there's people like us that are like 10, 20 years ahead. And then there's the rest of the economy that is still trying to discover how to use a computer, or at least even it's not like they're trying to discover. Everyone uses a computer or a phone, but they use it for the most stupid things or for just the basic, very basic utility parts. So how do you are working, especially the emerging markets, which the age group is around 20 years old, most of the world population right now, 8 billion people. And we have 2 billion people that actually don't have any access to financial inclusion. So they live still based on schemes and different parts. So the complex is a complex system. In one end, we have more wealth and technology that have an history, but we have still a paradox of multiple different. For instance, yesterday I was interviewing Gerd Leonard, one of the biggest futuristics, and he developed a concept of digital obesity. And I would say that there's digital obesity and digital, I would say, laziness. That we actually are bombarded with Netflix, YouTube, and you can spend hours in stupidities. But most of the people on these tools are not used to create gamification and parts. So I want to see, sorry, it's a big question, but the question in the end of the day is how you are taking this to these communities, and especially the work you're doing in terms of education and skills, which it's one of the things that even in my team, I have to do it every day, and myself. So we all have to do this, but it's you and me, I think, in a slightly different level, but we have to work and break this kind of paralysis, because people that's digital obesity, digital laziness, and digital paralysis, because people get paralyzed with that.
So I think for me, how I looked at it is I didn't keep it. A lot of times when you, the technology of Web3, most people have it separate and apart from what people are used to in their traditional Web2 interactions. So in my case, when somebody wants to talk, because remember, my case, it's inclusion, right? So someone's sitting in Yoma, in Africa, wanting to talk to the Nobel Peace Prize winner, who comes from Africa, who sits on our platform, when that Nobel Peace Prize winner responds and goes, well, no, we can have the conversation, but let's do it through my NFT. What I'm actually doing is the people that they want to meet, I'm not having the buyer or the young person be the one with the technology. I'm having the people they want to meet be the one who is in the space with the emerging technology. So I did it the reverse. I didn't bring my young people into the Web3 space. I brought all the people they want to meet and be around and give them opportunity into the space with their friends as the umbrella to draw, as the magnet to bring them in, right? And that's what I think has been the major difference for how it is I've done that. I very rarely in Web3 do you find a blue chip community. My community is a very blue chip. It's not the traditional people at all in the Web3 space. And I brought them comfortably with all of their friends, all of their industry experts at their level. As I said to you, most of them are in their 40s, 50s, 60s at the top of their game. And that was a level of comfort in doing this, Dinis. Now I have them all communicating those in their social circles going, when are you going to NFT me?
I think that's a massive achievement, just bringing these personalities to the community and explaining them how to use this. And I think that's why I'm here interviewing you, and I'm really excited about what you're doing. And I hope that you can actually take this bigger, because I think the success of this technology is really using it for empowering people, not the other way around.
I agree. And thank you so much for having me, Dinis.
No, pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much. So go to lovelyhumans.io, and we'll put all the links and a lot of other things here during the interview that you can engage somewhere here. And I hope that it will become a great platform. It is already, but a bigger platform that it can actually empower a lot of people around the world.
Absolutely. We're going for it, Dinis. We're going for it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sallyann, really inspiring.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
My pleasure. Bye.